We hope you enjoyed the last hour of our Project Community Special on immigration. As you were watching at home, our state's policymakers, stakeholders, and politicians were in our studio watching along with you. And now they're here to talk about the topics we learned about. Anchor Todd Kurtz is with some of them right now, too.
Great to be here with you and with all of these knowledgeable people. We are going to tackle a lot of topics tonight, maybe find some common ground tonight, too. I'll introduce you to everyone as we ask them the questions on this panel throughout the night, but let's get this going. Over to you, Shelley.
All right, Todd, thanks. Let's begin now with Steve Pearce, chairman of the Republican Party of New Mexico. What do you think is the biggest thing that needs to change with the current immigration process?
Well, the first thing is to secure the border, because if we don't do that, then we can never know who's coming and not. The second thing, it's got to be fair to people who are waiting in their countries wanting to come here. Immigration has become the nation's largest political problem. The voters see it. It's going to affect the 2020 election. And I think both parties need to pay attention, work together, and solve the problems, but fairness and securing the border.
All right, Lieutenant Governor Howie Morales.
Thank you. And I appreciate this, Shelley, with the information that was presented today. I think really sheds a light on what is actually taking place to move beyond some of the fear that is out there and to really address some of the issues head on. So I believe when we look and see what issues that we need to address, I believe that we also need to make sure that we're working in collaboration to understand what are the issues, working to ensure that the federal government is doing their responsibility to ensure that we're having a secure border, but providing the resources, especially for those communities who live on the border.
Okay, over to you, Coy Griffin, the Otero County Commissioner. Thanks for coming in. What do you think?
Thank you,
biggest
Shelley.
change that needs to be made?
As Howie just mentioned about the federal government doing its job, and we know that the federal government's job is securing our borders, but I think that we need to see a move from the state's part to come alongside the federal government, come alongside the Trump administration to accomplish that, to secure the borders, because apart from secure borders, we will never be strong as a state or a nation.
All right, and Las Cruces Mayor Ken Miyagishima, thanks for coming in. Your thoughts?
Well, I have to just say that what we've been able to do in Las Cruces is a lot because of our faith-based organizations. They've been doing this for a number of years. They have the organization, the structure. And so what happened is when you saw this huge surge of asylum seekers is where it started to get clogged. So I realized that immigration lawyers are a little bit different than the U.S. federal judge lawyers. So they're appointed, the immigration are appointed by the Department of Justice. So I don't believe they go through a Senate process. So I don't understand why the Justice Department just can't put on more judges to get through this bottleneck that we're dealing with right now.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to our next question. People seeking asylum. Do you think a proposal to allow people to apply for asylum from their home countries will actually help what's going on along the border right now? Let's start with you, Mr. Griffin.
I think you first have to define asylum, and I think there are asylum laws that are being abused right now. Asylum isn't wanting a better job or a safer place to live. We all want that. That's just human nature. Asylum is fleeing a country because you're targeted because of political or religious affiliation and your life is on the line. So I think it all starts with asylum. So I think that we need to first define asylum, make sure that the asylum seekers are legitimate. And we need to, when we look at the data, about 80% of the cases that go before asylum judges are not declared legitimate asylum, yet 1 out of every 10 that have a court date don't show back up to court. So there's a glitch in the system.
And that has been the argument of everyone claiming asylum once they get to the border, and is that in fact the case? Mr. Miyagishima, your thoughts?
Unless I'm mistaken, I believe there is a definition. When they do it in their own country, that's called a refugee. It's when they ask to be outside their country as when they're asylum seeker. So what's interesting is that Congress has laws for refugees. It's roughly 50,000 a year a limit. But when it comes to asylum seekers, there is none.
Mr. Pearce?
The asylum system is being affected by the Flores settlement, which came in '97. Significant changes were made under President Obama because he was beginning to experience the same surge, and just the number of people were claiming asylum. The two judges changed that dramatically. What needs to happen is Congress needs to sit together, Democrats and Republicans, and define what asylum is going to be here, where you can claim asylum, and then have the orderly process to hear the claims.
Okay, Mr. Morales.
And I believe that having them apply for asylum in their home countries, I think, is something that serves as a filter.
but also gives the opportunity to ease the issues that we're dealing with at the border. But we have to look beyond that and also look and see what policies that the United States can work with these countries that are experiencing that, whether it's military policies, whether it's economic, trade policies, what could be done to ensure that there's a mutual collaboration between the countries.
All right, a lot of different perspectives here, and I think it really reflects, too, what we're hearing from people all around our state with the differing opinions on it. Let's go over now to Anchor Todd Kurtz to hear from some other members of our community.
Yeah, great perspective for sure, Shelley. Appreciate it. Now, when migrants get here, they need basic help right away. We're talking food, water, shelter, right? So let's start with Jim Gannon. Jim here is the CEO of Catholic Charities here in New Mexico. Jim, how is the process going to get those basic needs to the migrants when they get here?
Well, really, it's the entire community of Albuquerque. In my case, I'm talking from Catholic Charities here in the Archdiocese. We have has turned out in throngs. You know, the people of New Mexico have spoken. They want to assist these folks. Our issue is being able to harness all the efforts of the volunteers who are coming forward.
I was just going to say, what could be done more to help you in your effort?
I think really we're doing it. It's coordination. I mean, there is the logistics that are involved with how many folks can be handled. For the most cases, these are just temporary guests that are spending somewhere around 48 to 72 hours in our community and moving on to their home where their sponsors are, all throughout the country. We've helped over 1,200 folks through Catholic Charities here in Albuquerque. None have stayed in the state of New Mexico. So they're really just respite.
It's great information. Appreciate it, Jim. Carla here is with ABQ Interfaith. Can you quickly tell us what ABQ Interfaith is?
We're a community organizing group made up of 16 institutions, and our focus is on embracing the beloved community of diverse groups of people and individuals that exist in this city and state.
Are you liking what you're seeing, at least, with the help that Albuquerque is providing to the migrants, money assistance and housing?
I do. I think more could be done.
Could you go into specifics on that?
Well, there's the local response. I think the larger issue is that seeking asylum is a human right, and so treating people like criminals and detaining them before they send them seems to be a more immoral question. I think the outpouring, though, from groups in the city, Albuquerque itself has been wonderful, but I think more could be done on the county and state level.
I think that's a good segue to bring in Luis here. Luis Leiva, New Mexico Dream Team. How do you think migrants are treated once they enter the United States?
The Trump administration has been targeting us since day one. He's been criminalizing us as an excuse for the privilege he's giving the rich, and he's trying to take our humanity and putting us in detention centers.
Could you get into an example?
He has been associating us with criminals since day one. All he's been doing is talking our humanity and saying that we're here illegally yeah.
Appreciate the time tonight, Luis. Roxy Rawls de Santiago, our immigration attorney with us tonight, our expertise here on the panel. Thanks for being with us. Biggest issue when it comes to immigration policy, I'm guessing you're going to say complexity, right?
Well, it is complex, but it is also what everyone has said today, which is the lack of humanity and the lack of justice in the system entirely. Our asylum system is set up so that people can show up at the border and claim asylum, and yet the argument is that you shouldn't show up because you're breaking the law. So really it is a lack of basic understanding of the law and then changing the rules at the last moment.
What about the people who are coming over illegally, though, crossing illegally?
The law still says that if you're on U.S. soil, you get the right to claim asylum. And if you show up at the port of entry, you can claim asylum, and they're being turned away, so they have no other choice but to come in illegally, so that they have the right to proclaim their rights under the U.S. law to file for asylum.
Being an immigration attorney, do you have a quick fix on how we could get this time down from when you apply for a visa compared to when you become a U.S. citizen?
There is no quick fix when it comes to immigration. You could add more lawyers, you could add more asylum officers.
Resources.
You could add more asylum officers to process hearings that are not antagonistic, so that they're just sitting across from someone in a desk telling them their story. That would certainly make a big difference.
Appreciate your expertise tonight, Roxy. Thank you. Mayor Tim Keller, he could not be here tonight. He's meeting with the mayor of Chihuahua, Mexico. Michelle Melendez here is with Albuquerque's Office of Equity and Inclusion. Michelle, I imagine the two mayors are talking a lot about immigration. What kind of objectives are they trying to reach?
Well, the mayor of Chihuahua is here. Mayor Keller is hosting him in Albuquerque this evening. And I'm sure that they're talking about the mutual benefit of reestablishing a bilateral commission between our two sister cities and the economic development opportunities there, the business, the trade, and the cultural aspects, because we know that there are a lot of people from Chihuahua and other places who live in Albuquerque, and they contribute immensely in terms of opening businesses, beautiful children and families in our communities and employees. And so expanding on that and building on it and educational exchanges would be great.
Just added a flight today, I believe, between the two cities.
Flight.
A new flight that started today. A good time to hear from the mayor. Got a chance to sit down with Mayor Tim Keller earlier to get his thoughts on an immigration solution. Albuquerque is about 200 miles from the Mexico border, but it is close to the immigration debate.
The impact was very surprising in terms of the volume of folks that were coming through. At one point when we had thousands coming through. That was a surprise because we had an hour notice.
Border Patrol is bringing migrants to Albuquerque by the busload.
As mayor, one thing I've learned and a lot of mayors have learned is that we're often mopping up unfunded mandates from DC left and right. And this is yet another one where we're left to deal with an issue that's unresolved in DC.
Mayor Tim Keller made the decision to give $250,000 in taxpayer dollars to help migrants in the Duke City.
I think it's important to put in perspective. For example, we spend almost $10 million on our homelessness challenges every year. And so $250,000 for folks to prevent them from being homeless in our community is also a good investment.
He knows it's controversial, but believes there's a lot of common ground.
I actually believe our city is mostly unified in the fact that we want to help children and families who are passing through after an incredibly long journey.
Mayor Keller says what ultimately should happen is immigration reform.
I actually think that humanitarian compassion, that human rights approach, most people actually really agree with. And I also believe people agree we need immigration reform. And that's something that our country's needed for a long time. And I think what's happening now is, once again, proving the point that we've got to come together across party lines and we've got to have leadership on this issue in DC.
Albuquerque Mayor Tim Keller. Now, depending on where you live, the issues you face or maybe perspective on immigration, it can vary. It can vary greatly. Let's talk to the City of Santa Fe Mayor Alan Weber right now. Mayor Weber, where do you think you agree with Mayor Tim Keller, and where do you differ too? Because City of Santa Fe, if I recall correctly, rejected housing migrants.
That's actually not correct. What we determined was, after talking with my fellow mayors, that Santa Fe was not the optimal place logistically to have migrants come through, asylum seekers come through. We don't have an airport capable of handling them as they move on to their next destination. As you heard, 95% of them are going to other places. We are not a Greyhound bus terminal city. For them to come up to Santa Fe and then come back to Albuquerque was not really a good use of their energy, which has already been spent making their trip. So we've been collaborating with the Mayor of Las Cruces, my good friend, with the Mayor of Albuquerque, with the Governor's office, to see how Santa Fe can provide resources rather than standing up a shelter.
And when we're talking resources, then, are we talking money?
We're talking toys for kids. Yeah. Santa Fe, like most of New Mexico, is a city with a big heart. And we lead with our values, not with artificial political statements. So we're starting out from a position of humanitarian aid for children and families that have been really tested to the max to try to reach freedom and reach asylum. And we believe if we lead with our values, that the rest will follow. And I am absolutely arm in arm with the other mayors, with the governor, in terms of coming forward with help as people are struggling to get out of those countries that are so war-torn, so violent. We want to help them find peace, security, and opportunity in this country.
Appreciate you being here,
Thank
Mayor. Let's get over to Jim Townsend, a state representative covering southern New Mexico, 3 counties, I think, in southern New Mexico, too. How does your perspective maybe differ on immigration with where you live compared to, say, people who live in Albuquerque or Santa Fe?
Well, I think my perspective is probably a little different because I came from an agricultural family, and having back into the Bracero program and have had interaction with migrants all my life. The problem that I feel sometimes is that it's being twisted as a race issue, and that is not at all what I believe the issue is. The issue that is before us are the laws that we have on the books. Are they being followed? Do they need changed? And I believe that is yes. Does the border need protected? And from whom? And what is right and what's wrong? I believe that
who would protect the border?
I think our nation is responsible for protecting our borders, and that in itself is one of the fundamental responsibilities of our federal government.
Got to move on. Jim, thank you. Let's hear from the governor. Shelley?
All right, Todd, thanks. Now, here at KOAT, we are actually spending the entire year exploring the divide of opinions on border security and immigration. The leader of our state, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, wasn't able to be here with us tonight, but she did sit down with Action 7 News anchor Doug Fernandez to talk about her ideas.
Have your thoughts on the situation at the border changed? Because when you became governor, you removed the National Guard and then went to D.C. asking for money, or are those two different things?
There's no question that a 2,000-mile border is a place for nefarious activity and risk. So we should do something about that. But the debate has been, if we don't do a wall, we won't do anything else. Now, this is not how you do effective policy.
But as that debate continues, parts of New Mexico are suffering financially, paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to help immigrants. In anticipation of this continuing, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham has already requested millions from Congress to reimburse our cities and counties. For decades, we've heard these three words, and I tried to figure out who said it first, but I could not figure it out. Comprehensive immigration reform. You've probably heard this thousands of times.
I've said it thousands of times.
It's never happened when the same party controlled the White House and the Congress, and that's happened many, many times. Why?
You know, I think it is a political flashpoint, and I hope that we get a White House and a Congress that's going to have the courage. And maybe, Doug, it's time to start to peel it away so that we're dealing with a variety of issues in reasonable policy efforts instead of making it comprehensive.
Since immigration is such a political football, and this is about bringing both sides together, is there a plan by the Democrats, or it's part of a plan by the Democrats, you don't like?
I disagree that Democrats think that you can just do immigration policy and not deal with hiring enough Border Patrol agents and doing border security.
Is there an idea the Republicans have that you do like?
Well, smart border security, I agree with. I agreed with Republicans that we could look at Dreamers in a different variety of ways. So we changed the number of Dreamers, the amount of time you have to be in this country. I agreed with Republicans that we could raise the bar. That's tough.
When we talk about hundreds, sometimes thousands of people coming in every week, when is it enough is enough? How much can we absorb?
We have to start making the kinds of investments and dealing with foreign policy in a way that allows us to do a better job at all of our borders. And that's the challenge that every country has.
We're going to get back now to some questions for our panel here in our studio live with us tonight. The president has proposed a merit-based immigration system. We've seen it done in some other countries. So do you think that is something that could work here in the United States? Merit-based immigration. We'll start with you first, Mr. Miyagi.
Well, I think a lot of these asylum seekers, really, they're fleeing their countries. I think a lot of them really don't want to leave their country and uproot everything that they have. I seriously doubt that if you just ask for just the best and brightest to come over. You know, that's my thought on that.
Just don't think it was something that could work. What about you, Mr. Pierce?
Sure, I think it would work. It works in other countries. And what we do when we let people come in with no skills is they really dilute the pay of people in this country who are in the low-skilled jobs. So we find that group in a very static wage base, and it's part of the reason is we're bringing in so many people that compete for those jobs. If we brought in the higher level jobs, that would raise the pay on the lower end. I think that we absolutely have to look at it.
All right, merit-based immigration. What do you think, Mr. Morales?
Thank you. I think it's very arrogant to think that only allowing individuals with a college degree into our country. We see the countless stories just this graduation year of the abuelita who was a housekeeper or the abuelito who is a groundskeeper, yet produce such wonderful, hardworking graduates in our state. And I think that when you look and see what the values of New Mexico and of the United States is making sure that families are together, ensuring that we're providing assistance for those who are fleeing persecution and violence, and making sure that we recognize that if these were the laws that were in our history books, how many of us would be here today?
Okay, what about you, merit-based?
Absolutely merit-based. I think we want to let people into our state that want to bless our state, and it's not just a college education. It's having skills. It's being able to in construction or to give back. But the number one biggest merit base is to make sure they're not criminals, because there's a lot of criminals that are coming into our nation right now. Gang members, drug traffickers. I've sit here the whole time and I haven't heard one thing about the cartel or drug smuggling, and that's the sharper edge of the two-edged sword. Immigration, absolutely. The human factor, absolutely. But the narcotics and the cartel has to be addressed. So merit-based, absolutely. Make sure that they're going to bless our nation. But one thing about it, though, too, whenever we're too merit-based, is we're robbing all these other nations of all the good people that are in them. You know, a lot of the people that come into our nation are the exact people that we need to stay in their country to help build their country and make it strong. If America's creaming all these third world countries, what's going to be left but crime?
Again, we're hearing, four of you, and then it's, again, a very divided topic. We're going to move on to our next one. Many New Mexico communities, they're spending local money to help asylum seekers. So do you think that local governments should be using taxpayer money to do that? Let's start with you.
Well, we're in a very unique situation. Believe it or not, the money that we use is an investment that we received from 15 years ago. We were able to parlay that 20 million into about 45 million. And so we typically never touch that money for operations of the city, and we use that for nonprofits. So that's what we use. But I have to just say this. I don't understand what the difference is when you have a federal employee, in this case ICE or Border Patrol, and you pay federal dollars to house them, to feed the asylum seekers, versus a city. So, I mean, is there a huge distinction between federal dollars and city dollars?
Okay, what about you? Taxpayer money to be used?
Sure. The question is really made more extreme because of the open border that we're experiencing right now. If we had an orderly immigration process, those asylum seekers, that question really wouldn't even come up. I will tell you that if we continue to have the 100,000 people a month come and 140,000 a month come that your program talked about, we're going to strain the resources of every local community, and even the federal government doesn't have the money to pay for all of these people. So at some process, the question comes down to the open border versus a secure border.
Okay. How about you, Mr. Morales?
I believe that, and I'm proud of our local communities, the way they've stood up, our nonprofit groups, our faith-based organizations who have really stepped up, because the reality of it is if these individual groups weren't able to step up, these asylum seekers, these migrants would be dispersed throughout the communities seeking that assistance. The federal government has abandoned their responsibility, and that's why the governor, along with the city of Albuquerque, sued the federal government to ensure that the resources would be given to those local governments to provide those resources for those individuals.
Okay, taxpayer money, yes or no?
Taxpayer money needs to be spent in such places as our Native American Indian reservations that are living, a third of them are living below the poverty level, with our elderly, with our vets, with the children in our state that are #1 in the nation in child hunger. We have needs in our own state, in our own communities, that our governor, as well as the state, is not addressing. Let's address our Native American Indian reservations.
So no for the taxpayer money, again, for asylum seekers from you.
No.
Okay, let's head over now to Todd.
All right, thank you. Want to get to everyone here on our panel tonight. Marg Elliston, she's the chair of New Mexico Democratic Party. President Trump, he made immigration top priority in 2016. It worked. If by worked we mean got him into the White House. What's the Democratic stance going to be on immigration, specifically policy, come this next election cycle?
Well, President Trump demonized the people that are coming across the border. I think your program tonight gave a really good picture of who they are and the forces that are driving them here.
What's the stance that Democrats do you think will take as a whole?
We're for comprehensive immigration reform, support for the dreamers that are in a limbo situation now, and we need to sit down and figure out where people are coming from, how many people we need in this country to do the work that we have, and figure out how to allocate our resources to
You know the wall's going to be brought up again. It was big in 2016. It will be brought up again. What's the Democratic response?
Our governor just said in her bit that we need a strategy to secure our border. We all agree that we need to secure the border, and the wall is probably not the best way to do that.
I want to get over to Pat Davis here, to City of Albuquerque City Councilor. Pat, appreciate you being here. How about the housing migrants at Expo New Mexico? A lot of people have come up and were worried about where priority was, right? When we have countless homeless on the street every night. Why make the decision to house migrants?
Well, look, I sponsored the legislation in Albuquerque to provide that money to our nonprofits, but we did it because the community had already stepped up. Just like Mayor Miyashima said, they were already providing these services, and they were looking for places to expand. The federal government has fallen down on their job on immigration for years, but it wasn't until they started dropping off migrants in our cities that a lot of us had to really face the consequences of that failed policy. But as the mayor said in his piece, we spent $10 million last year in the city of Albuquerque to house 1,000 people or so. ICE was threatening to bring, 4,000 immigrants and asylum seekers through Albuquerque. All of them have been through a background check. All of them have been through a credible fear interview and are likely to be able to stay in the United States. But if they drop 4,000 people off in our city, we will overwhelm the progress we've already made. And so for me, it's a humanitarian thing. It's the right thing for us to do. But even for more fiscally conservative people, it makes sense for cities to step up and help those folks get to their final home so that they don't become a challenge for us here on our other systems.
Appreciate it, Pat. Maria? All right, we got to everyone here. Final thoughts. You got here early, you watched the immigration special, you've heard everyone speak tonight. Maria with the ACLU, final thoughts on everything you heard tonight.
So I heard Mr. Pierce say that he thinks this is a political issue. To me, this is a moral issue. It's a humanitarian issue. Just before coming to this studio, I saw a picture of a 2-year-old little boy and his father and her father who had died trying to cross the river just yesterday.
El Paso region.
I think it was at Brownsville.
Yep,
and so we're at a reckoning point in this country. We have to acknowledge what we're doing to people. We have to either accept it and be okay with seeing dead 2-year-olds in the river, or we have to pivot and decide that we are going to take a more humanitarian stance on all of this.
Appreciate all of you being here. Back to Shelley now.
All right, Todd, thanks. As we get to our final question, we're looking here, as we've been talking about, for some common ground with all of this. So is there something that we can all agree on when it comes to immigration and our borders? We'll start with you.
I wish we could all agree to put New Mexico first. I wish that we could all agree to put Americans first. You know, we're so focused on others that we're not taking care of our own. Again, we have children that are hungry. We have Native Americans that are living in poverty. And we're so focused on others coming into our country. Secure our border, make us strong, fight the cartel and the drug traffickers, the real threat on our border, and make New Mexico great again.
Mr. Morales, would you agree with that?
Thank you. I would hope that the area that we would come to a common agreement is to recognize that this great country that we live in, that it's never acceptable to house children in cages, to separate children from their parents, and to have the unsanitary and dangerous conditions that they've been in. I believe that when we look and see possible solutions, we've talked about all of us wanting a secure border. That's important. We have to get away from the rhetoric of saying that the wall is going to be the solution, because we know that's not going to be the solution. It's never been the solution in the history of what we know. But we also recognize that securing the border means filling those vacancies with the Border Patrol, making sure that we can have a system in place for the 11 million undocumented immigrants in our country, and to work with those other countries to make sure that the policies in place are there to help strengthen those countries so those individuals don't have the need to come into the United States.
Okay, I'm hearing secure border. That's something we're all agreeing on. Mr. Pierce?
Sure. I think I had a good friend in Congress, Luis Gutierrez, and we didn't agree on anything, but we were good buddies. And he said one time, he said, you and I, backbenchers, we could cure this problem. Many times the leadership nationally of both parties is the piece that keeps us from agreeing. I think we could work out something on the Dreamers. I think we could work out something on border security. I think we could have a definition for security. I think we could make a decision, secure border versus an open border. And right now we have an open border.
Okay, Mr. Miyashima.
Something I think that they can realistically do right away is, as I mentioned earlier, about the bottleneck, because and I'm sure you've heard it, there's going to be some asylum seekers that have months, years before they get their hearing. And since these immigration lawyer or judges aren't have to be confirmed or such, I don't see why the Department of Justice just can't hire or appoint more immigration judges and expedite those and find out whether they are here or whether they need to be returned back to their country.
Okay, so again, a lot of debate on what to do. We all agree secure border, right? But just how to do it is always the question. That's all the time we have for tonight, but we're far from done talking about this issue. We do have 2 more of these Project Community specials coming up later this year. Thank you for watching. From all of us here at KOAT, thank you for watching, and we'll see you back here at 10 o'clock.